we've talked a lot about just our experiences leaving home and just interacting with different spaces, well, in different spaces. And, you know, I thought code switching would be a good topic. I know because for me, when I first needed to code switch, I had no clue what it was. And so now I felt like I was being fake, or I had to be fake. And now it was like a battle to like, am I gonna play the game?
Right, or be yourself.
Or am I gonna be myself? You know, and then I just had to realize that more than using the term code switching, I say moving in spaces, right? So it's just learning how to move in those different spaces. And for me, that was tough.
It's exhausting, number one, to do.
Yeah, you know, like, so I had to, you know, I'm trying to be, again, I think for me, the hardest thing of everything was trying to be. So everything I was trying to speak like I'm not from Louisiana.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, you know, even, you know, now like I teach a social emotional learning class in high school, and it's like giving them more vocabulary and helping them identify with emotions differently, right? So like, you know, some people say curse words, but I just say emotion words. I learned them through watching my parents express their emotions.
Themselves. Yeah.
You know, and then, so again, just learning how to move through those different spaces, you know. How was that for you going to Florida and, you know, even just getting into the mental health space, being a Black woman, you know, I know that's one of the things that, you know, I was raised by my mom and grandmother. My aunt, she was just like my second mom, you know, so I have a space and I empathize for the Black woman a lot, you know, and so, like, what was that like?
I mean, sometimes it was tough, but it feels exactly how you described it, in that you're trying to be yourself while also, you know, knowing that in order to navigate some spaces, you're trying to communicate with people. So it's not like you're, like you said, you don't want to feel like you're being fake, but you're like, I need these people to understand what I need because I'm trying to register for school, or I'm trying to, you know, do this presentation. And so I feel like there's been moments for me, probably throughout my career and schooling too, where I had to either take a pause and make a choice of like, okay, what type of energy do I have today to like navigate this space, which is tough and you shouldn't really have to do. Especially the thing about being from Louisiana, living in Florida, like everything was, I know we talked about that, but like everything was like, say that again, say this, what do you mean? And after a certain point in time, you get exhausted by even wanting to not even explain yourself, but just feel like I am not being understood. And so I think in being for sure for being a Black woman, we're already thinking about like how to navigate certain spaces to not feel like we're coming in being like overly aggressive and, you know, and that sort of thing, when at the end of the day, I drop my THs on a lot of words, and like I just, we make up words all together. And so I think sometimes that has to be something that either you get really comfortable just knowing at the end of the day, this is who you get. Like you telling, you know, when I do presentations, when I work with athletes and like teams and groups, I'm like, this is me. And I usually now, further along in my career, start off like that. But before, I used to try to think like, well, what's going to be the thing that makes them feel comfortable? And eventually it just gets old because it's exhausting. So I'm like, I don't really care, you know, if you're comfortable. But I agree with you in that it's based off of what we saw, like, or heard. And then that was the way people around us express themselves. And not till you get in other spaces, like for you in the league or other things in business, you're like, oh wait, everybody don't talk like this? Or that's not the way, you know, to win somebody over. And so it can be hard, but it just gets exhausting. I just think at a certain point, personally, you pick a time where you're like, I'm either not doing this anymore or I'm going to do it my way.
Right, right. Yeah, I watched, and when you say like, oh, people not doing this, that was big for me. Like even with, you know, the Southern hospitality, right? Like, so I had to pick and choose when I would use it, because some people, it wasn't appropriate in the settings because I needed to come in as the CEO of this situation, or I needed to come in as the big dog of this situation, right? And so like, even down to simple things like yes ma'am, no ma'am.
Yeah.
Right? Like learning how to, how some people would look at that and look at me as inferior because I'm addressing them as ma'am or sir. And so now having to tiptoe and think about, okay, do I use it right now? Am I being disrespectful? Am I not?
Yeah.
So again, like that's why I say more of like just learning to move in those spaces until I built up enough courage to say, you know what?
I'm not, this is it.
This is it. Like this is what you get. You know, you get Tyrus, you get raw, authentic. I don't mean any harm.
No.
But this is, and I think a lot of people may deal with that on more moving, transitioning into that professional world. And it's that balance of, keeping your sense of self.
Right.
But being, professional, whatever.
Like, what is that? Right. Like, that's the thing. Who defines professionalism, especially in certain worlds, sport, entertainment, whatever that is, even in education, it's like, who told us that? And so part of it is like, we've adopted what like has become social norms to tell us that's what professional is.
So tell me this, what's your thoughts on being in the mental health space? All right. And being a black woman from Louisiana, New Orleans, Lower Nine, and moving through the spaces that you've moved through from Florida State to LSU to NBA, like, what would you, if a 17-year-old black girl from New Orleans was watching this, and what advice would you say, or now looking back, what would you tell yourself at that point about the anxiety of code switching or moving through those spaces?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, figure out what is your most authentic self, which is the personal work that ain't even always about you trying to impress, but like be comfortable in your own skin, because those moments will come, like you will have to sort of figure out, well, what do I need to do to make sure whatever my purpose and goal is in this situation, that the message gets across. So I think, figuring out yourself, that's kind of cookie cutter to think about. But I think the other part is then figure out a better way to develop your emotional vocabulary. Because a lot of times the reason why I feel like we code switch is because of things like being nervous and being anxious, or not having a clue how to exist in certain spaces. And so we don't really know even how to like kind of talk ourselves through that, because we don't have the right words to say, like, I'm feeling anxious right now, or I feel incompetent, or I didn't prepare for this meeting, like, and being honest. And those things happen. And then when we don't know, when we aren't solid on that, then we definitely go, I think, far to the left, and just then become who we think is in the room and who we think those people in the room want to see. And a lot of times those same people that we're trying to be like when we go in those rooms, they actually are maybe more turned off, or just kind of like, oh, that's not who I thought I was gonna get. Now, is that right either? Probably not, like, for them to think that. But at the end of the day, now you've gone into this scenario not as yourself, also feeling anxious and not confident, and you maybe don't even walk away with the thing that you showed up to do. Right. So it's like a loss all around, personally, and then maybe professionally, because it's like, I always tell people, think of it like code switching sometimes is going into a space and in a room, and your suit is ill-fitted. Like, it's like you don't feel good. And so if you walking in and you're like, this shirt too big, my shoes too big, like, you're never gonna, because that's what's gonna be your focus the whole time. You're gonna be like, do they notice that, like, this blazer hanging low or whatever? Right. It's the same thing. It's like, do they know I really, like, I'm super nervous because this room has no people in it that look like me, or these people are wealthy and I'm not, and like having to figure out what those feelings are, I think gives particularly women, but really anybody, like a better chance of going in as your authentic self. Right. But I think it takes practice. I don't think any of us just know that.
I would try to be open, and it would make me more standoffish.
Yeah.
Where me trying to be open, I shouldn't have did that. Like, I should have just let everything run its course, because even when I tried, it backfired. Right? It never went right. It always went left when I tried to be what
you
thought I needed to be or who I needed to be. You know, I think about Lauryn Hill. She said it on her Unplugged. She was like, you know, the real you is better than the fake somebody else. And that's always has been true for me. You know, like even if I may feel bad about something in the moment, but long term I don't. Whereas sometimes I resent not being myself or switching. It's like I shouldn't have did that.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna expect me to be, and I think that's what happened with me, like in the NBA. Like I was trying to be so likable that it ran out fast. Like I got overwhelmed fast, and it's like, whoa, you're the butthole because you just was
this,
right, and it's like I couldn't keep it up.
You can't keep
that,
you know,
up. And it's like if I would have gave them this person first, it would have been fine. This is all they would have expected.
Right. And then on your better days, they like, oh,
I'll get a bonus.
Tyrus is even better today.
Right.
Like,
you know, trying not to show my anxiety, trying not to be depressed, always trying to be upbeat when I'm around people and, you know, trying to wear that mask.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what, when I talk about code switching, I think about like that, moving in spaces and wearing those masks that, again, nobody told us that we had to wear.
No.
But somehow we went found it and thought it was appropriate to put it on.
Yep. I mean, I like the way you described it. It felt like it's like a forced vulnerability. Like it's like forcing yourself to be vulnerable and expose yourself when you maybe don't have to. Like it's already exposing enough to be yourself because you know going into this room, you know, they know you from Louisiana, they know this or that or whatever. And so to then put yourself, for you to put yourself in that scenario, it's like kind of harmful, like in the long run. Cause like you said, over time, you can't keep that up. Like nobody could, you know, on average, I think most people say people can pretend to be something for probably about 3 months.
I think that's what it lasted. It lasted about 3, 4 months. I think by the time we got to like November, it was done.
Yeah.
But I had all of July, summer league, July, August, September. Yeah. It was about like, 4 months. And it was like, I'm done. Like, I'm interviewed out, I'm smiled out, I want to be me again.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
And then you feel like you can't go back. Yeah.
Right, now you're trying to keep that up. Keep that up. And so.
You know, I think in the mental health world for sure, and for me as a woman working in sport, I understand now much more than when I first got started that just my like presence somewhere makes somebody else feel comfortable. I don't even have to tell them like it's gonna be okay or relax or, you know, but I will because I do. But like being able to say that I'm just there, I think makes them at least know, okay, well, we may not have anything in common, but she looks like me or she's a woman.
It's especially, and I probably could vouch for some of the players that you've interacted with because one woman in particular, Halima Nash, I'll never forget her. And she's probably like 4 or 5 years older than me, but she had just graduated from DiiK and she was working with the Bulls. And she was friends with Luau because I think she was like his RA his freshman year at DiiK. But it was something about having that black lady, and she wasn't much older than me, but just a black woman in that organization. She was at mostly all the community events, mostly, and it was just, you know, and we were really close, but it wasn't a time spent thing, right? Like, you know, like it was just that.
Right, it was the presence.
From day one when I saw, I was like, all right.
Yeah.
It was like almost a sigh of relief, right? Like even though I got black teammates that's my age, and her connection to Luau wasn't the relief. Just me seeing her, and she was like, "Hi," I can't remember what her title was, but I was like,
that was enough, right?
All right. And I'll never forget calling my grandmother, and I was like, "Yeah, I met this girl Halima. Like she cool, she got me. Like we gonna be good."
It's
like it was like
I'm fine now.
Yeah, it's like it's one of us,
right?
You know, and you know, like I think like that's what you mean. Like in that, we kind of just need that comfort, because even that, now thinking about it, her presence at a lot of these situations made it easier for me to move in those spaces, right? Like, and even interact with people Just all right, I can watch her a little bit, see what she doing.
Yep.
All right,
And,
this how she
and
doing
even
it.
model it.
All right, cool.
Yep.
Or let me go over here and let her segue this conversation, and then she's gonna walk off. And it kind of became like one of them unspoken things.
Yeah, it was
like,
just an understood thing.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
it was like, I was grateful for that because it helped me. She, you know, and I don't think I ever told her, but she helped me like kind of understand. Just watching her, not asking her anything, just watching her confidence in that space. Like, this is a male-dominated sport, a male-dominated organization, a white-dominated organization. And it was just something about her presence. I know I did, and her interaction with especially the younger black players, like, it was a sense of security.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
it's safety.
Halima here.
Right. It's like, we're good.
Know, she's like the youngest one in the organization, but it's like, Halima here.
Yeah.
Like, we good.
Yeah,
you know
it didn't matter.
So, you know, I guess that just speaks volume about the power of the black woman.
Yeah, you know, I agree with that 100%. But I think you're right, though. It's just having somebody there that represents what you think is you being able to be okay to be in that space. And just that person's presence. Like you said, it may not always have been about deep conversations and, you know, her giving y'all words of wisdom and guidance, but it was like her presence allowed you to feel like, well, if she here and she doing it, then surely I can, even if I'm figuring it out along the way.
Right.
That is for me always, you know, a goal. Like, I obviously always want to be an advocate around mental health in sport and that sort of thing. But I also get that, like, my presence sometimes is enough for a player to be able to feel like I can do this. And I mean, like, I did not play basketball. I cannot still. And so it's like, I know it's not always about the skill part of it with mental health. It's sometimes my very presence in saying that mental health is okay in sport. It's okay to think about your well-being coming from somebody who just looks like somebody that also looks like somebody they love, their mom, their sister, their cousin. It makes a big difference. In order to feel secure, in order to maybe almost like make sure you appeared confident, you put on this like security blanket of switching in the different environments just because you felt unfamiliar. And it was really to like avoid discomfort. It wasn't because you wanted to not be yourself or because you didn't know, you know, what to say or do. It was more so of like, this is the thing that I feel like will allow me to be able to get through this moment of anxiety or not knowing if I wore the right thing to this event or, you know, that sort of thing. So I still do that. But I think being able to know for yourself what happens with a lot of people, and you were able to sort of figure it out and still maintain your own identity. But there are people who end up at the extreme and like they never find their way back. You know, they sort of do that for so long, they get past that 3-month period and they are like, well, I guess this is almost who I have to be now, because they've now felt like people won't accept the real person that shows up, you know, to the event still wearing what they want to wear or wearing it in a way that's, you know, fashionable to them or whatever those things are. And so I think that a lot of times that, you know, is a struggle for people, and then it translates into life after sport or life outside of sport, where then those are the people that, you know, when you see them in the old neighborhood or whatever, you like, you ain't like that. Like, you know, and it's not like it's not that you can judge them fully for, you get why they did it, but it does like suck to see these people that you knew maybe they was cool, they was real cool, and you liked them as they were, and people liked them as they were, the neighborhood loved them as they were, and they went to wherever and felt like I gotta leave that person behind. And I think I feel like I've had those moments, like being from New Orleans, growing up how I grew up, you have those times where you're like, who do I like bring back home? And in my mind, I'm like, this is who I'm always be. Like, I can't help it. But there are people who, if they do it for too long, it becomes they get stuck, and they think now people won't accept maybe the old them.
Right.
And so, you know, it sucks because it just ends up there.
How do you think we get like that?
Damn if I know.